Session begins by once we have recorded the session. Good morning, everyone. It's our pleasure to welcome again Dr. Harvinder K. Singh, SARI Scientist, Mushroom Research Laboratory, Department of Plant Pathology, College of Agriculture, IGKV, Raipur. And the topic for deliberation has been chosen as production technology of lion's mane mushroom and fan mushrooms. Sir, you're audible as well as visible, and the presentation is also visible. Please start, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mazid, and thank you, NADCL, for providing me the opportunity to interact with the learned mushroom growers as well as scientists, faculty members, as subject matter specialists, and dear participants. So today I will be telling about the production technology of lion's mane mushroom and fan mushroom. Lion's mane mushroom is nothing but it is Heratium erinaceus, and the name comes from the structure. Basically, it is a coral fungi, and the morphological features resembles more like the mane of the lion. Okay, so that's why the name has come as lion's mane mushroom. And similarly, a split gill mushroom or fan mushroom. This is again another medicinal mushroom which is being uh, which you can find during the entire rainy season on dead wood logs as well as living wood logs. So similarly the shape of this particular mushroom again resembles like uh, a fan. That's why it is called as fan mushroom. It has a characteristic that the gills of it are splits, so it is also called as split gill mushroom or fan mushroom. So today we will be specifically dealing with these two medicinal mushrooms and how they can be cultivated, and what are the recent advances that has been done or that are going on. What are the researches that are going on in these particular mushrooms? So coming to lion's mane mushroom or Heratium erinaceus mushroom, it is an edible and medicinal mushroom. It is also known as forest dweller, and this so-called lion's mane mushroom grows on generally the wound scars or the recently fallen hardwoods, especially oak. So on the fallen oak woodlogs, you can find these lion's mane mushroom growing naturally. So it can be easily distinguished by its thin tendrils. It can be easily distinguished by its thin tendrils protruding from a white rubbery center. So the flesh is white and white to off-white. You can see strings hanging from the, if you can look, it mostly resembles hair-like structure of the lion's mane. So that's why it is called as lion's mane mushroom. The base of it, particularly from where it is attached, so that part is hard, so that keeps the entire fruiting body stick to the growing bags. So the fruiting body and the compounds that are derived from Heratium erinaceus are used in the treatment of cancer, hepatic disorders, wound healing. They improve cognitive abilities and support the nervous and immune systems. So most of the medicines that are derived from Heratium erinaceus are used to treat neurological disorders. So they are very pharmacologically very active. They are having compounds. So again, it is by other name, it is also called as bearded tooth. The tooth is bearded, and it belongs to the class Agaricomycetes, order Rasulales, and family Heracinaceae. So this was a mushroom which we started working on, and we tried to find out what are the physiological and nutritional requirements that are required for growth and biomass production of Heratium erinaceus. Then we found out what could be the best suited substrate for growth and yield of lion's mane mushroom. Then we also found out that what could be the best suited grain substrate for spawn production of this particular mushroom. We also studied impact of different pasteurization methods on spawn run and yield of Hericium erinaceus. Then we also performed the best performing strains that could be used and that could be supplied to different mushroom growers. And finally, we went for the nutritional composition and determined the nutritional composition of this particular mushroom. So we evaluated different media. You just have to see that potato dextrose agar medium is definitely supporting the maximum growth with a greater fresh weight as compared to other media. So why I am telling about other media is that you have to regularly revive your cultures on different media, because it maintains the viability as well as it maintains the vigor of your cultures. Because if repeatedly, if you culture on the same media repeatedly, what will happen is that the vigor of that particular strain will gradually decrease. So for that reason, we have to evaluate different media, and we could find that yeast malt extract media is also giving a better result. Similarly, glucose peptone media is also giving a better result. So we can have a number of combinations of different media, and we can repeatedly culture it on different media from time to time. Okay. So you can see the different growth patterns on different media. So you can see potato dextrose agar media is giving a very nice and characteristic mycelial characters, which is almost same as yeast malt extract. So these two can be used for regular subculturing and maintenance of your cultures. So similarly, we found that we could see that let us see whether the mycelial mat structure or the biomass production on different liquid media also varies or not. And I will tell you why we have done this. So later on, we have worked out a cultivation technology in liquid media also. So for that reason also, we carried out experiments and see whether these Hericium erinaceus grow on different broth or not. We have removed the agar part from the different media, and we have seen that in the broth. So we could find that again potato dextrose broth and yeast malt extract media gave a better result. So we have also standardized a mushroom complete media. So on that also we could get a very good mycelial mat. So these are the results, and we could easily see that the potato dextrose agar media gave a higher fresh weight as compared to different other media. So in that, agar was removed. So as you can see radial growth of this, and similarly for HH strain also we have 2 strains we carried out. And then we saw what is the effect of different temperature on radial growth. So we could find that 24 degrees Celsius was found to be the most promising temperature at which the maximum radial growth was observed, and the maximum fresh weight and dry weight was also observed at 24 degrees Celsius, which is most common to most of the fungal strains. So you could see the growth of Hericium erinaceus at different temperature. So you can see that 24 degrees Celsius is 24 degree 20, in between 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. You could see the good mycelial characters which is covering. So as we go decrease the temperature beyond 20 degrees Celsius, we could see that the mycelial characters are greatly reduced. Similarly, as we increase the temperature from 24 degrees Celsius to higher temperatures, the mycelial mat gets decreased. So we have done this for media as well as for broth. So in the broth also we got the similar results. At 20 degrees Celsius and 24 degrees Celsius, we could get a very good mycelial mat, but at higher temperatures and lower temperatures, we could not get a good mycelial mat. So we could say that we standardize the temperature for the best mycelial growth between 20 degrees Celsius to 24 degrees Celsius. So similarly for the other strain also we did that, and we could find that again 24 degrees Celsius and 20 degrees Celsius were found better as compared to other temperatures. Similarly, we optimized the different pH level for growth and biomass of lion's mane mushroom, and we could find that at a pH of 6, the growth and fresh weight as well as dry weight was maximum. And as we just decrease the pH from 6 to 5, the growth is drastically reduced. So we could say that slightly acidic to basic is the pH requirement for the growth and biomass production of this particular mushroom. So we could see while going for the substrate spawning, we could ensure that the pH should remain in the range between 6 to 7, because that is the range of pH at which this particular Heratium grows very nicely, and it has a very good growth as well as biomass. So you can see these are the pictures at 6 pH we could get a very good mycelial characters, but at relatively lower pH as well as relatively higher pH we could not get a good mycelial biomass. Similarly, we carried out the same experiments in broth also, and we could find that we could get a fruiting body in the broth itself at a pH of 6. So we could easily say that the pH requirement for this particular mushroom is in between 6 to 7. So this is for the broth. So you can easily see that the growth is around 69.2 mm, and the fresh weight that was obtained at 6 pH was 4.24. But at 5 pH, we could see that the fresh weight was very less, and it was more, around 1.78 gram only. So similarly, we standardized for the HE8 strain also, another strain, and we could find similar results for that HE8 also. And we could then thereafter we found what are the carbon sources that will support the maximum radial growth as well as biomass of two strains of Heratium erinaceus. So we could find that fructose was the one carbon source which we added to the media, and it supported growth, maximum growth as far as Heratium erinaceus 05 strain was concerned. But even though growth was maximum in fructose strain, but the fresh weight was maximum in maltose supplemented media, and lactose was the one which gave the least growth as far as radial growth in mm is concerned. And so you can see on different carbon sources the growth pattern of our HE5 strain. Similarly for these are the effect of carbon sources on the broth media. So easily we can say that the maltose part gave the good biomass production. Similarly, we did it for the HE strain also, and we could see that in the fructose part, very good dense mycelial growth is there. Even in glucose, we got the, but lactose we could easily see that it is not supporting the growth of that of Heratium erinaceus in a particular desired manner. So we moved with fructose as well as glucose as far as carbon sources are concerned. Similarly, we did it for broth also, and we could see the effect of different nitrogen sources on the growth, radial growth of Heratium. We supplemented our media with magnesium nitrate, potassium nitrate, urea, ammonium molybdenate, and different nitrogenous sources. So we could easily see that ammonium persulfate and potassium nitrate could give a good mycelial growth as far as radial growth is concerned. We performed the same experiments for nitrogenous sources also, and we could easily find that again sodium nitrate as well as ammonium persulfate along with potassium nitrate were very effective as far as nitrogenous sources were concerned. So you can see ammonium persulfate gave the maximum growth as far as mycelial growth is concerned, and glycine supported the maximum fresh weight as well as dry weight as far as nitrogenous sources are concerned. So you can see the photograph of HE8 strain also. HE8 strain is another strain which we standardized, and we did it on the same different broths also. And we also standardized the light. What is the light requirement for the radial growth and biomass of the two strains of Heratium erinaceus? And we found that the blue light and the green light, they were the actually it grew irrespective of different lights. It gave a better growth and fresh yield. But if we compare the different light wavelengths, the wavelength corresponding to green light gave the maximum growth and the maximum fresh weight. So we can see the growth pattern. So this is the green light, and we could see that it is giving the better radial growth as far as Heratium 5 strain is concerned. We did the same for Heratium 8, and at different wavelength, in Heratium 8 strain, it was amazing that we could get a fruiting body in the media itself. So I will tell you how we have initiated the fruiting body in the media as well as broth later on. So then the next objective was to find out what could be the best suited substrate for growth and yield of Heratium erinaceus 8. So we took the HE8 strain, and we did we could be able to grow it on sawdust, wheat straw, paddy straw, maize straw, as well as finger millet straw and sugarcane bagasse. And we could get a very good biological efficiency as far as these substrates are concerned. So you can see this is the fruiting body which we got on sawdust, which again this we got it on wheat straw, paddy straw, maize straw, finger millet straw and sugarcane bagasse. So what we did is that we took these substrates and we autoclaved it the entire bags was autoclaved, and we generally took around 1 kg of dry substrate of each: sawdust, wheat straw, paddy straw, maize straw, finger millet straw and sugarcane bagasse. We supplemented it with 10% of wheat bran, and then we sterilized it in an autoclave, and then we inoculated these particular bags in a laminar flow with the fungal culture. So we could easily see that different substrates could be utilized for the production of these mushrooms. So again, after that we found that what could be the other grain substrates on which spawn production can be done for Heratium erinaceus. Earlier we were doing it on wheat only. So what we did is that we utilized wheat, paddy, maize, sorghum, pearl millet and finger millet. So we could find that that the paddy, the spawn development was comparatively very high. It was taking very high on paddy grains. But finger millet, since the grain size is small, so what happens is that the spawn development is very fast. So the spawn development was very fast in finger millet and kodo millet as is concerned. So we took that as a base material for growing the spawn for this particular mushroom, and we could find that these two millets were very effective as far as spawn production is concerned. So you can see the quality of spawn in the finger millet is very nice as compared to other grains we could use. So we since it is an experimental part, so we could easily identify that based on the availability of different grains at your level, you can choose any of the grains for development of spawn of different strains. So this is the data. As far as what we did is that the spawn prepared from these different grains, they were subjected to fruiting. They were inoculated in straw, inoculated in different substrates, and we could find that the wheat grain raised spawn was giving very good spawn run, and we could find that the finger millet one, the days required for first harvest was only 7 days, but the paddy one, similarly the days required for first harvest was 11.6 days. So you could see that even in paddy also we could get a fruiting in around the first harvest, we could get in around 11 to 6 days after pinhead initiation. So the entire period of of spawning to first harvest could be easily seen that it is for spawn run generally it is 25 to 30 days, and for pinhead initiation another 2 weeks you will get. So and then after pinhead initiation another 2 weeks you will get the fruiting body. So more or less it is a crop of the first harvest. The days required for first harvest is approximately 2 months. So that can be drastically reduced if you use the finger millet raised spawn. So here the cropping cycle can be reduced only to just 40 to 45 days. So that is why we did the experiments, that what is the effect of different grain substrates raised spawn on the yield and yield attributing characteristics of Hericium erinaceus is concerned. Similarly, we did it for different strains, and you can see the fruiting body that we got on Hericium erinaceus or lion's mane mushroom. Here we use the wheat grains raised spawn, and we could get a very good quality of Hericium erinaceus. Similarly, with paddy grain raised spawn, we could get a very good Hericium erinaceus fruiting body. And for the entire grains, the entire different grains raised spawn, we could get fruiting bodies. But you can see the quality of the finger millet grain raised spawn is very good, and the kodo grains, and the fruiting which we got in this particular bags were 14 to 15 days earlier as compared to the other spawn. So we could easily say that the millet grains are very effective as far as raising the spawn of this particular is concerned. So then what we see that what could be the effect of, since these bags need to be inoculated before these bags need to be sterilized before inoculation of the fungal. So we thought that why not we could use a different pasteurization method, because that is a very tedious way, because every farmers could not have an autoclave and they could not go for production. So we thought that we could standardize different pasteurization methods. But what we did is that we took 2% lime based also, 75 ppm carbendazim, 500 ppm formaldehyde, carbendazim and formaldehyde, though these chemicals are now banned. So what we thought that let us try it in first in vitro studies, then we will take it to the. So what we could see that when we supplemented the media with formaldehyde and carbendazim, we could not get a growth. But in lime, we could easily get easily got a when it was supplemented with 2% lime, we could get a mycelial growth in the media. But when we use only formaldehyde, we couldn't get it. Only carbendazim, then also we could not get it. And media without any of these chemicals, we could get the very good fruity, very good mycelial growth. So we could easily say that lime, as far as is concerned, will support the growth of the mycelial run of Hericium strains. So then we went for the mycelial growth and the steam sterilization. But when we went to the fruiting stage, we could not get any of the fruiting in the desired experiments, but only in steam sterilization, which was done in the autoclave. So you could see we use the different substrates. and we could see that we could not get even in 2% lime also, and only in the steam sterilized part, only in the steam sterilized substrate we could get the mycelial growth of Hericium. So we could say that in media we could get a mycelial growth as far as 2% lime is concerned, but in substrate it further needs to be standardized. So these are the for HE5 strain. So we thought that whether is it possible that HE8 strain will also give the same kind of thing or not. So we could see that in HE8 also we could get only in the steam sterilized substrate. So, and then we went for the fruiting, and we could see that the spawn run, primordial initiation, and days required for first harvest was only achieved in steam sterilized substrate, but not in the other treatment methods which we followed, not even in hot water, plain water, lime water, or formaldehyde and carbendazole. So these are the photographs of this. So we could easily get in the spawn run in the steam, and but only fruiting we got in the steam sterilized. In all the others, we could not get a fruiting body. So then what we did is that we had a number of strains which we received from Directorate of Mushroom Research, Solan, and what we did is that we characterized all of them for different cultural characteristics as well as mycelial characteristics. So we had approximately 9 strains. So like the other 2 strains which we have characterized these 9 strains also on different media, different carbon sources, and we could easily find that HE08 strain was very effective. And so these are the photographs of those which I have described earlier. The only thing which I wanted to say is that HE8 strain we identified which could fruit even in the broth media also. So I will tell you how we have induced the fruiting in broth also. So these are some of the microscopic characters. So we developed a spawn on wheat only, wheat grain, since it is easily available. We made the spawn of these all the 9 strains, and then we evaluated for the spawn run, pinhead initiation, number of sporophore, yield, and biological efficiency. So you could see that we could get a biological efficiency of around 35 to 45% biological efficiency. On an average, 35 to 40% biological efficiency we received in all the strains. Except for HE02 strain, we got a fruiting in almost all the. You can see these are the different strains which we had. HE01, HE02, we could not get the fruiting body, but we could be very happy. We were happy that we could get the fruiting body in all the strains on wheat straw substrate. So these are the wheat straw substrate on which we received all the fruiting body of all the strains. Similarly, on sawdust also we could get the fruiting body. So as we got the fruiting body on wheat straw, we got the fruiting body on sawdust also. So these are the two substrates which we have standardized for the different strains, and these strains are available at our place at IGKV Raipur. You can also get these strains from Directorate of Mushroom Research, Solan, and you can contact either DMR or either IGKV or any of the other equipped centers by which they will be able to provide the cultures of these particular strains. So we will be very happy if anybody of you will take up the cultivation of lion's mane mushroom, because again it is a very effective medicinal mushroom as far as neurological disorders need to be managed. So for improving the cognitive abilities of the children also, these mushrooms are very effective, and it has a very good taste, and it tastes more or less like seafoods. So again, taste wise also it is very effective, because we have compared the taste of this particular mushroom on hedonic scale by preparing different recipes and tasting them to so many people. So based on that, we could see that this has a very good liking as far as edibility and taste is concerned. So I hope that most of you will take up this activity at your end. So then further we analyze the nutritional composition of different strains of the Herinaceous. So we could find that it is very rich in protein as far as all the strains are concerned. So most of the strains, they have a very good protein percentage, and they have a very good fiber percentage also, and they have very less in fat content. Moisture, as usual, it is very it is the moisture ranged between 80 to 85%, but then protein part is percentage is comparatively higher as far as these strains are concerned. And the other characteristic is that it has a very less fat percentage. So again, apart from the substrate method, we have standardized different other cultivation methods of Herinaceous, and we could see that in liquid broths we could induce a very good quality fruiting body also. So what we have done is that we have taken the liquid. This liquid or broth is nothing but the wheat spawn spent water. When we prepare spawn, we boil the grains. We boil the wheat grains. So what we do is that the water that is remaining from the wheat grains is being utilized for inducing fruiting of this particular Hericium. So this particular strain of Hericium erinaceus which we are having, we could induce the fruiting in liquid broth also. So as you can see that sterilizing a liquid is comparatively easy as far as substrate is concerned. So if anybody is interested in taking up the liquid method or the fermentation based production of Herinaceous, they are very much welcome, and they can contact me personally. So we can, the fresh yield which we obtained was 8.5 gram in a single bottle. So this bottle approximately contains around 250 ml of broth. So in that broth we could easily retrieve the fruiting body directly on liquid base only. So, and the days which required for fruiting was only 40 days. So as far as fruiting is concerned, we could easily get a fruiting as in substrate, and the yield was also comparatively higher as far as liquid based cultivation is concerned. So we tried to cultivate it in bottles, in plastic buckets also we could get it, but then again these further needs to be standardized. But just for the sake of information, I have told you this. So another objective was that what could be the occurrence of contaminants? What are the contaminants? So generally these are the contaminants that are being observed when the temperature is very high, or the humidity is not maintained. We could easily see that the bags of these particular mushroom, if they are not sterilized, you will get coprinus in that. Aspergillus is another which parasitizes on the fruiting body of Herinaceous. Penicillium is again, Rhizophus also we could get, and in fact we could easily get Neurospora. This is a very major contaminant as far as growing rooms are concerned. So yes, so when you see these type of bags, it is advisable that you remove these bags and completely dump it at a place that is far away from your growing room. So these are the works which we have standardized for Herinaceous, and these are the conclusions. So no need to go into detail, but just I wanted to say that we have strains of Herinaceous. We have a cultivation protocol for a fruiting induction in substrate as well as in liquid. So if anybody of you are interested for taking up this mushroom for cultivation, they are very much welcome, and they can contact either DMR or either IGKV or other ECRIP centers that are at your place. So easily you can get the production technology as well as the strains, the better performing strains for this particular mushroom. Okay, so again coming to the another another mushroom which I was told to tell you about. So very less work has been done as far as cultivation technology of Schizophyllum commune is concerned. Schizophyllum commune is another mushroom which you will find in abundant in northeastern states of our country. You can find them growing, selling in the market. People are selling these mushrooms exclusively in on roadsides. Many women will will bring these mushrooms in that leaves, and they will sell it in the market, and they have very good recipes for this particular mushroom. You just go on YouTube and search recipes of Schizophyllum commune, and you will find lot of recipes from from Malaysia, from Thailand, and from the northeastern states, from Singapore. You will find lot of, even the Thailand people have cultivated, means standardized this production. They have very superior strains of Schizophyllum, and they have stabilized strains of Schizophyllum which could give better yield, because this is a mushroom, the strains of which are not stable over a period of time. So you need to be very careful while going for the cultivation technology of this particular mushroom is concerned. So what we did is that we could find these mushrooms growing abundantly on the woodlots of mango or any rotten woodlots. We could find these mushrooms growing abundantly, and we found that many of the tribals were collecting these mushrooms, and they were utilizing these mushrooms for different medicinal preparations, as well as for their cuisine, in utilizing in different cooking cuisines of their of local nature. So we tried that why not we should standardize the cultivation technology of it. So we brought the fruiting body, and it has a very characteristic gill structure. You can find that the gills are split. So it is also based on this character also. This is known as the split gill mushroom. In oyster, you will see that it is a single gill will be present, but here a single gill is split with around from top to bottom. So again, it is called as the split gill mushroom. So we took the spore print, we cultivated it, and we prepared the spawn for this particular mushroom also. Then what could be the substrate that could be utilized for the production of these mushrooms? So since they were growing on woodlots, so we decided that we will take the sawdust. We will take wheat straw, which is available at most of the places, and paddy straw, again, it is abundantly available at our place. So we thought that let's try it on these three substrates. And what we could find that when sawdust along with wheat bran, calcium carbonate, and magnesium sulfate, we could get a biological efficiency of 7.49. So easily we could get, even on wheat straw, we could get a biological efficiency of 17%. And surprisingly, the highest biological efficiency for this particular mushroom we received in paddy straw. So these three substrate, we supplemented it with wheat bran as well as without wheat bran. So definitely when these treatments were supplemented with wheat bran, we got a comparatively higher yield as far as when these substrates were not supplemented with wheat bran. The wheat bran could be a source of nitrogen, so maybe nitrogenous sources are required more for production of these particular mushroom. I will show you the photographs. So these are the spawn run of Schizophyllum commune, and you can see this is the spawn run characteristic, and you can see the bump getting formed at certain places. So where you find these bumps, you make a slit there itself. So what we did is that we make a slit, and we could see that very good fruiting body was observed for Schizophyllum. It though resembles like oyster, but it is not oyster. It is a split gill mushroom, and you could see we could get a very good fruiting on wheat straw. Even on paddy straw, we could achieve a very profuse fruiting as far as Schizophyllum commune is concerned. So again, on sawdust also, we could get a very good fruiting body. So what we tried is that even on liquid media, which we tried for the Hericium strains, we went for that also, and we find that in liquid media also we could get a fruiting body. So these are the things which we are working upon at IGKV Raipur, and even at DMR people are working. So this is all what I wanted to tell you about the different production technologies which we have standardized as far as Hericium is concerned, as far as split gill mushroom is concerned. So thank you very much for your patient listening, and I hope that I was able to deliver what I was told to. So now you have, if you have any questions regarding these particular production technology of these two mushrooms, you are most welcome.
Sir, good evening. Good morning. I'm Kesing from.
बताइए, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही।